God bless you and protect you and preserve you, geometry students. I would like to make a practice test video for you coming up. So I trust you will guide us and help us and really open our minds to understanding better than we would by ourselves. So I want to go ahead and start with this one. We just touched on this, and this might be in the area of bone eyes if you see it, or if you get it well, we could actually use it as a part of the test. So let's see back here, median. You might remember my doing that with you, where I showed you a shape. I cut this out of a folder, and I showed you a median. And you say, what is that again? Well, let me go over that with you one more time. The median of a triangle. Median of a triangle is, it's a segment. And it's a segment drawn from one vertex. A segment drawn, should be the next word there. Drawn from one vertex. To the midpoint needed more room here. To the midpoint of the opposite side. I'll illustrate. Let's say this is a triangle. I'm going to call it the common ABC. Here's a median. A median would be drawn from vertex B to the midpoint, of segment AC. So BM would be a median. Here's another one. We could draw one from vertex A to the midpoint of BC. Let's call this midpoint N. So AN would be another median. And finally, we could draw one from vertex C, and they do intersect, to midpoint R. So these are the three medians. So the medians would be AN, talking about segment AN, that'll be one. Another one would be BM, and the third one would be CR. There are only three of them because we only have three vertices in a triangle. Okay, so say this would be a median of a triangle is a segment drawn from one vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Again, a median of a triangle is a segment drawn from one vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Now these medians, they intersect at a certain point, and this point I'm going to call it point, I was going to say C, but I already had C here. I'm sure you can see that. So let me call it a point T. They intersect at this point T, and this point T is called the centroid. Centroid. See if I can get it in here. This is the centroid of the triangle, and that's that almost special point. I'm not even sure where if you put your pen or a very small point here, you can actually balance this. If you cut this shape out, you can balance this because it's this with all of the weight is centered. It's called the center of gravity, and that's what the centroid is. Special feature, and let's take a look at what that means. The distance from T to C, the longer segment of median RC is going to be twice the distance from R to T. Okay? We're going to get to that. But anyway, before we do that, let's say, and the centroid of a triangle is, let me get back to the centroid. What is that? The centroid is the point of intersection of the three medians. Again, the centroid is the point of intersection of the three medians. Okay, I'd like you to at least know that. Now there's some math concerning that, but let's just go over this. Say this with me. The centroid of a triangle is the point, forgot point out, is the point of intersection of the three medians. Again, the centroid of a triangle is the point of intersection of the three medians. And there's something special about that point of intersection. In fact, let me just show it to you from here. Let's say we consider median AN. Median AN, let me just write it here for median, which has got segment AN. What do we know? Well, the distance from A to T is going to be 2 times the distance from T to N. In other words, the longer segment of the median is twice the shorter one. Similarly, the distance from T to C is twice the distance from R to T. And finally, the distance from B to T, which is the longer segment, is going to be twice the distance from T to M. Okay, let me write another one here. The distance from B to T is equal to 2 times the distance from T to M. Let me say it another way. Tm would be a half of Bt. Okay? All right, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at number 14, 15, and 16. It says the following. Given that point C is the centroid of triangle GOD, which is the best triangle we could ever have, GOD, and GO is 16, so this whole thing is 16 from here to here. Well, that should tell us something. If this is 16, since M is a midpoint, then what would GM be? And I hope you're just smiling and saying, that's too easy. Yeah, this would have to be 8. GM is 8. And MO is 8. Why? Because M is a midpoint. Okay, let's go further. OD is 20. So on this side we have OD is 20. That's the overall. See if I can just get it in here. The overall is 20. So with that in mind, what would OT be? And I know you just know that OT is just going to be a half of the overall because again T is a midpoint, so that's going to be 10. That's OT. How about TD? I think we're asking for TD here. TD would be equal to 10. Let's take a look at something else. Well, let me ask you some others that are not here. TD would be 10. What would OT be again? OT, let me write that. OT, although it's not here, OT would also be 10. And we've got some others that are not here, like GM. GM would be 8, because it's going to be half of the overall length of GO. Similarly, MO would be 1. MO is going to be also 8, being a half of the overall distance from G to O. Again, the median comes to the midpoint, so that's why each of the segments of the triangle is divided into equal parts. GM equals MO, OT equals TD. Now let me take you into a tougher one, and this might be the bonus here, so listen carefully. Number 14, CD. The distance from C to D, from the centroid to here, this is the longer distance. What do they give us? They give us that DM is 12. So DM from one vertex D to M is 12. So that's the overall length of this median is 12. Let me write that down. Let me write it here. DM is equal to 12. So here's what I have not taught you yet. This might be the bonus. Going from D to C is going to be 2/3 of the overall distance. Again, D to C is 2/3, and then from C to M is 1/3 of the overall distance. So CD, which is number 14 here, is going to be 2/3 of the overall distance of 12. You can work that out simply. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12, 4. 4 times 2 is 8, so CD is going to be 8. Let's do CM. CM is the shorter of the two segments which make up the median, from C to M. C to M is the shorter, so it's not going to be 2/3, it's 1/3 of the overall length of the median, which is 12. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12, 4 times 1 is 4, so CM is 4. Okay? So that's the way you would do that. Let's see if you could possibly work one out. Let's see if you could work this one. If I give you the distance from G to T is 24. Let's see if we could put that somewhere here. Let's say GT is 24. GT would be the overall length of this median here. What would be the distance from point G to C? Is that the longer segment or the shorter? It would be the longer, so GC is going to be 2/3 of the overall. 2/3 of 24. 3 will go into 3 once, 3 will go into 24 3 times 8. So this would be 8 times 2, that would be 16. See that, how that works? And how about CT? CT be the shorter segment or the longer? CT would be the shorter. So CT, I'm going to do it here, is going to be 1/3 of the overall of 24. And that would work out to be 8 times 1 is 8. Alright? So that is a little bit more in terms of the median, centroid, and how the median is broken into a shorter and a longer segment. Alright? May God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.